Welcome back to another Leagues 4 video, and today we're going to be doing a step-by-step starting strategy. And outside of a few tweaks when the full task list does drop just prior to Leagues, this is going to be my plan when it does release. But a couple things I do want to mention before we jump straight into this. The first is how this video is going to look a little different from a few of the starting strategies already on YouTube. Realistically, a lot of the methods are going to look very similar considering we're all doing the same set of tasks. But with that said, this strategy is almost entirely built on having no competition. I saw it in the first two leagues, and I've already seen it quite a bit now with people's strategies. Sometimes, even though a task seems simple and you think you can do it real quick, when there is 40 other people trying to do the exact same task, depending on what it is a nightmare to try to compete with all of the people, rather than just moving on and doing something else. Time and time again, people have included bottlenecks in their plans that completely blow up what they were planning to do as soon as the league started. So while there might be a couple spots throughout this plan that there could be a little hiccup, 99% of it was built on the fact that it doesn't matter whether there is 30 people doing the exact same thing as you. Now the second thing I want to mention is the starting relics. Depending on which starting relic you pick, it will dramatically change how some of your early game strategies should be. For example, if you're taking the Trickster relic, you might want to do a little bit more emphasis on some of the early game thieving tasks. Enhanced Harvest might cause you to have to bank a little bit more in this plan. Considering when you do gather some supplies, it will just go straight to your bank. But at the same time, it won't take you nearly as long to gain the exact same amount of resources as everybody else because you're already getting double. And then the last one when it comes to Production Prodigy. Most likely, you're not going to be able to take too much advantage of the actual production aspect of this relic. But the plus 12 boost itself on those few skills will make a dramatic difference. It'll give you a nice jump up to some later task that a ton of people aren't going to have available to them. I mean, you're talking right off rip, you basically have 15 crafting, smithing, herb lore, fletching, and cooking. So as the plan progresses through, there's definitely going to be a few spots you'll want to take a pit stop and add a few more tasks because you might have the capability to complete something that nobody else technically has the level for yet. But with those two things out of the way, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the step-by-step starting strategy. To get things started, we'll spawn in Lumbridge with basically this exact inventory setup I have right here. Obviously minus the stand pots and the Lumbridge teleports, I just need those for the sake of recording this video. As soon as you join the world, you're basically forced into completing the Leagues tutorial and unlocking the first region. But that's completely fine because that does give us our first task completion. And I'm not 100% sure if it's also included in the tutorial, but if not, our next task will be to open up the League menu. Regardless, once you have those first two task completions done and you can actually start moving around the world, our next job is just going to immediately pickpocket the nearest man. And we're going to do this until we have 28 coin pouches in our inventory. And obviously this is where things already start to change depending on which starter relic you did pick. If you have Trickster, this will be an absolute breeze because you cannot get caught or damaged while pickpocketing. But for the other two relics, you have a couple options. You can try to take advantage of the 2 food in your inventory in order to get the full 28 pouches. Or you can just suicide since you're going to respawn right here with all of the pouches still on you or in the gravestone. Personally, I'm probably just going to do the suicide method if I don't end up picking the Trickster relic. And I'll keep this bread in my inventory just in case I do need it later. But once you get the 28 coin pouches, we will have completed an additional 4 tasks, being pickpocket a man, completing our first level up, completing our first level 5, and then the last one obviously is opening all 28 coin pouches at once, which should give us 84 GP. Now before we head out, we're going to make our way into the Lumbridge kitchen and talk to the cook in order to start the cook's assistant quest. And then once you've done that, we're going to make our way out the castle and down to the south. On my way out there, I'm going to go ahead and drop my bronze dagger, equip the arrows, drop the shrimp, the water runes, the earth runes, the body runes, and then go ahead and equip my Drayman staff. Once in the graveyard, we're going to do the dance emote in order to complete a task. And while we're here, we're also going to enter Death's Domain. Go ahead and exit Death's Domain, and then we're going to head straight south and start some fishing. We'll already have a net in our inventory, so you can go ahead and just get straight to it. And at this point, you have another couple options. Personally, I'm just going to fish until I have a full inventory. But if you do want, you can stay here until you have 15 fishing in order to complete the task to catch 1 raw anchovy. And then obviously this task looks a little bit different if you do have Enhanced Harvest, because these fish will just be going straight to the bank rather than in your inventory. At that point, I would honestly recommend just staying until you get 15 fishing and complete the anchovy task because you'll have enough fish banked in order to do the next task later on. And then secondly, it also takes you half the time as everybody else. So depending on which of those two methods you chose, you could have completed either 1 or 2 tasks, being catch some shrimp and then catch some anchovy. After that, we can head straight west and you can drop one of your shrimp and try to get some copper ore. But realistically, this could also be an incredibly competitive task. So if there are already a ton of people fighting for the ores, just skip this task now and you'll get to it later. But once you've got those tasks done, let's make our way back up north. Once we get back to the castle, we're going to go ahead and make a pit stop up to the bank to deposit our shrimp. If we do have the 25 GP in our bank, go ahead and pull that out as well. Otherwise, make your way back down the stairs. On the second story, we're going to make our way a little north and go talk to Duke Horatio to start the Rune Mysteries quest. Once you've started Rune Mysteries, make your way back out the castle. But this time, we're going to make our way out the back door towards the farming patch. Go ahead and talk to Faith. Select option 3, can you sell me something? And then it'll be option 3 again for a rake. Select yes, that sounds like a fair price. And once you have your rake, go ahead and rake the tree patch that is right here and you will have completed another task. After that, let's make our way north into the general store and trade the shopkeeper. And I'm going to go ahead and sell my short bow, the wooden shield, and the bronze sword. And I'm going to buy 1 knife and 1 set of shears. After that, make a few steps south, drop your air runes and your mine runes, and claim some from the magic tutor. And then we're going to make our way north into the sheep pen. Most likely there is going to be a ton of people trying to do the sheep shearer quest, but unlike them, we don't need to get 20 pieces of wool, we just need to get 1. So go ahead and spam click a few times until you successfully shear 1 sheep and have 1 wool in your inventory. After that, let's make our way north out of the fence and head into the pen straight to our west where there will be an egg spawn. Realistically, there could be a bottleneck here, but I'm pretty sure that they might be potentially infinite spawns like they did with the garlic last league. If they are not, there is about 8 different egg spawn locations between all of these pens right here. But once you've got yourself an egg, make your way over here into the wheat field, pick one of the wheat, and then before we head out, use the cry emote in the wheat field in order to complete another task. Once you've completed that task and got your wheat, we're going to make our way up here into the mill, head up both of the ladders, throw your grain in the hopper, operate the controls, and then head back down and we should have our pot of flour ready. Once you empty this flour bin, you will have completed the task of making a pot of flour. And then after that, we're going to make our way north into this pen. And with the bucket we still have in our inventory, we're going to milk this dairy cow. This will also complete another task and give us another 10 points. And now we're going to make our way back down to Lumbridge in order to complete the cook's assistant quest. But on our way, we are going to kill one of these goblins. There's going to be a ton of players basically killing everything around Lumbridge, but there are so many goblin spawns, you shouldn't have any trouble getting just one. Use whichever combat style you want. You can beat it with the Drayman Staff. I'm probably going to be using some magic. But whichever one you do choose, once you kill a goblin, you will complete a task. Go ahead and pick up its bones and then bury those to complete another one. One thing that is very important though, if you are following this exact same strategy, is regardless of what combat style you use to kill the goblin, make sure you are doing it on defensive mode so we get defense XP. On our way back to the Lumbridge Castle, we are just going to continuously keep attacking anything and everything now after killing that initial goblin. It doesn't matter whether it's going to be more goblins, a couple chickens, a couple cows, whatever you want to do, but I'm probably just going to be using magic on the run. But the whole point is so that you get 5 defense. Once you got 5 defense, you can go ahead and stop and then make your way back to the castle. Once you're back in the castle, we're going to head ourselves into the range and talk to the cook in order to complete the cook's assistant quest because we have everything on us now. Once you've completed the cook's assistant quest, make your way back up the southern staircase. And before we head all the way up to the bank, we're going to head in this room right here and spin ourselves a ball of wool to complete another task. Now that we've done that, we want to go ahead and bank. At this point, you can deposit your ball of wool, the shears, your pickaxe, and the rake, and then pull out all of the raw shrimp you have in your bank. Make our way back down the staircase, and we're going to use the range by the cook. As soon as you do start cooking, the first shrimp you cook successfully will complete a task of cooking on the range. If you burn one of the shrimp, you will also complete another task for burning some food. And then finally, if you are lucky, you have the ability to cook 5 shrimp in a row to complete the third task. But once you've cooked all your food, we can make our way on to the next tasks. At this point, you can take a pit stop in the church and talk to Father Eric in order to start the Restless Ghost quest, but I'm probably just going to skip that and do it another time. At this point, we're going to make our way south and out of the graveyard, and we're going to keep heading south and enter this little shack in order to complete the task of entering Xanas. Make sure your Drayman staff's equipped, otherwise this task won't actually complete because you'll just enter a random shack and you won't see anything happen. Once you're in Xanas, we're going to make our way over here down to the southwest, and we're going to use this fairy ring. We're going to teleport to code DIS, which would take us to the Wizard Tower, which is where we're going next. But this also comes with the additional bonus of completing a task for using the fairy rings. Once you're at the Wizard's Tower, you're going to make our way down this ladder, and we're going to talk to Segrador. This will be our next step of the Rune Mysteries quest, so once you have the box in your inventory we need to deliver, you are good to go. Let's make our way back up the ladder. If you did start Restless Ghost, you would also need to do that step while you were in the basement over at that little altar. But once we're out of the Wizard's Tower, we're going to make our way north up here to Dror Village. Right in front of the bank on our way up north, there is a friendly forester. Go ahead and claim your forestry kit and you can throw that on your back. That itself is not a task, at least that we know of yet, but there is some tasks surrounding forestry that will give us the ability to complete later on. But now that we're in Draenor, let's make our way north, and in the middle little section buildings over here, we're going to head into Aggie's house. Go ahead and talk to Aggie. Select option number 3, you mad old witch, you can't help me. And after you install her, she'll steal 20 coins from your stack, but you do complete a task and earn another 10 points. At this point, it is now time to run some agility laps. We already have 10 agility, so you have immediate access to the Dror Village rooftop course. And we're going to spend some time here until we complete 10 total laps. And doing so will complete us 5 different tasks and netting us 80 total points. The first task is going to be completing any rooftop agility course. The second task is completing Draenor's rooftop course individually. The third task will come when eventually you get your first Mark of Grace. The fourth task will be us completing our first level 20 in a skill. And then finally, after completing 10 total laps, you'll complete a medium task rewarding you with 40 points. But once you've completed your 10 laps, at this point, if you do want to take another pit stop, you could throw in the Vampire Slayer quest right here. You would head into this building, get yourself some garlic from the upper cabinet, as well as starting the quest with Morgan right there. But for this strategy, our next step, we're now going to head north out of Dror Village all the way up to Dror Manor. Once we enter the front doors of Dror Manor, we'll complete another task just for entering. But we're going to continue going further and head up this staircase. And once you're up the staircase, run a little bit around one of these chairs until it starts to follow you, because that will complete another task of getting a chair to follow you in Dror Manor. There are a few different chairs you can use to complete this task. As you can see, I have the ones following me over on the first floor in the east room, just by the staircase where you start Vampire Slayer. But after completing the chair task, we are going to cast the Lumbridge Home Teleport spell. And once we arrive in Lumbridge, we'll have completed another task for using the Home Teleport. And now we're going to make our way back into the graveyard and use Count Check to teleport ourselves to the Barb Village. And fair warning, this is a one-time use, so once you use this teleport, you cannot use it again. But once we're in Barbarian Village, it is now time to complete our 10k GP from the Stronghold of Security. But a couple quick things to note if you are a newer player, and just so you don't forget if you're playing on a different account. In order to get the GP from these chests down below, you do have to have your Authenticator activated. And then 2, if you have never went through the Stronghold, there are plenty of guides in order to show you how to do it. But once you've looted the center chest in all 3 of the levels, you should have 10,084 GP roughly, and hopefully some food left over, because we do need to make our way down to the final level. And once you're at the cradle of the final level, you have the ability to pick a pair of boots. And with the boots available, go ahead and make your pick, and everybody should know there is only one right option. But once you've obtained your pair of boots, go ahead and equip them to complete another task. Now to get out of the Stronghold, head up this bone chain. And once you're back on the surface with our newfound GP, we're going to make our way just a tiny bit north and trade Pexa. Buy yourself 1 steel full helm and equip it to complete another task, since we have our 5 defense from earlier. And you can go ahead and keep it, or you can just sell it back, whichever one you prefer. You'll get between like 60 to 70% of your GP back if you do sell it. I'll probably just go ahead and sell it, and then once we do that, we're going to make our way north up here to the Edgeville Dungeon. Enter the Edgeville Dungeon, and then we're going to make our way over to Vanica. And just in case you have any questions, no, you don't need 40 combat in order to get a task from Vanica in the leagues. All Slayer Taskmasters are available right out of the gate, and they're all going to share the same task list. Go ahead and get yourself an assignment from Vanica. This will complete 2 tasks right off the bat, of 1 getting your first Slayer task, and then 2 getting a task specifically from Vanica. At that point, if you're not already given an enchanted gem, go ahead and buy one for just 1 GP. Right-click it to check your Slayer task in order to complete another League task to gain 10 points. And then finally, right-click Trade Vanica and buy a Spiny Helmet to equip it and complete our 4th task. And just like the Steel Full Helm, you can sell it back for just a little over half the GP. But after completing all those tasks, we're going to make our way out of the dungeon and over to Varrock. And on our way there, we're going to complete a couple woodcutting tasks. Go ahead and chop any 2 trees. You can chop some in this region if there's already people there. There are a ton over here to the east as well. Even if there are a ton of players chopping all of these trees, there's so many you shouldn't have any problem getting just 2 logs. But once you chop 2 trees, you will have completed a task for chopping some logs. Use your tinderbox to light a fire to complete another task. And then finally, use the knife we bought earlier on the second set of logs and make arrow shafts to complete a 3rd task. And depending on your preference at this point of the guide, you can stay here and woodcut for a little bit if there isn't too much competition. There are a few early game woodcutting and fire making tasks you can complete without too much time invested. One is making like 1,000 arrow shafts. There's also another task for what I believe is making 30 oak stalks. But then even one of the easier ones is just fire making 1 pair of oak logs. Once you're in Varrock, we're going to head straight to the square into the staff shop, and we are going to buy a fire staff from Zaf. Once you equip the fire staff, you'll complete a task for equipping an elemental staff. And now let's make our way down to Aubrey in the rune shop. Buy a couple hundred fire strike spells, and then we'll need to talk to Aubrey twice in order to continue the Rune Mysteries quest. Once you've done that, make your way a few steps up here to the northeast. And we are going to steal from this tea stall to complete a task. And then just make your way a few steps north more up here to where the guards are. And depending on what your magic level is now, go ahead and use the early wind strikes. But use this little rock formation right here to safe spot one of these guards. And once it's dead, you will have completed a task for killing a guard. And then also, depending on what combat style you used earlier to get your 5 defense, you should already have got it. If not, you are very close to being 10 combat, which will complete an additional task. After the guard's dead, go ahead and pick up its bones. And now our job is to find the Varrock stray dog. If you already saw it earlier, this makes this task dramatically easier. Just go back to wherever you saw it. Otherwise, I would just head down to the south and run around somewhere along this border all the way around the bottom and back up towards the west bank. And you should be able to see it somewhere around here. There we go, it's right here. We're going to go ahead and use these bones on the stray dog. That will complete a diary task, and then go ahead and pet it in order to complete a league task. And then lastly, after petting the dog, if you do have a few food left over and you're still up for it, make your way down here to the south and try to get on the edge one of the little level 7 dark wizards. Make sure you avoid the level 20s at all costs if they do get on you. Try to pull out one of the level 7s. And if you are capable of killing it, you will have completed another league task. Now that we are in Varrock, there is a ton of stuff we can do just in this around region. One thing to note is we still have yet to complete the Rune Mysteries quest, so do not forget to do that. And then once you've completed it, make sure you use Segredor to teleport you into the Essence Mine to complete another task. But Rune Mysteries itself, for completing it, you will get 40 points, so just between those 2 tasks themselves, you will get an additional 50 points more than you have right now. But at the same time, since you're already in Varrock, you don't need to just up and leave to go do that right now. You can easily stay and stick around to do a few different tasks. A few of the different options you have is you can head north and start the Daddy's Home mini quest. You can head downstairs right here to complete the museum quest. And I forgot to mention it earlier on our way by, but you also could have started Gertrude's Cat. It's a very easy quest and good to pair alongside Daddy's Home since you have to make your way up to the sawmill for both. You can head up here north into the church and head upstairs. Here you'll find Elsie, and if you talk to her and have her tell you a story, using the cup of tea you stole from the star earlier will help you complete another task. And then like the last good route option I can think of off the top of my head in the region we're already in, You can make your way out here east and head to Fossil Island and complete a few of the easy tasks there. But regardless of what you end up choosing to do next, that is my in-depth step-by-step starting strategy with very little tasks that involve competition that'll help you get roughly 500 points in about 1 hour to start Leagues 4. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video or found it helpful. If you did, consider dropping a like, it massively helps me out. And if you're around here often and you want to see some more Leagues 4 content just before release, I got plenty more coming. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Feel free to leave in the comments if there are any other easy tasks you think that could have easily been added into this strategy. I know some of the early game quests are one of them, but I also at times find people try to do too many things at one time and they end up accidentally skipping a step and have to backtrack anyway. Regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great day and good luck in Leagues 4.